Well, a good morning and welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are very excited to be here with you this morning, and I am super pumped for the opportunity to be able to say what I'm about to say. For those of you that are on our social media, you found this out yesterday on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. So you've had the opportunity to find this out already, but hanging right behind me here in the studios is a new banner. So last week we had the banner up, then you saw the banner go away. We brought the banner on the road with us. Our Wake Up Call banner came down to Philadelphia and to the Poconos as we did the Fishtown Card Show for the second time in the last few months here at Rivers Casino, and had a great time. So my banner was down there. And then you didn't see the banner come back up behind me. So some of you that watch the show all the time might be thinking to themselves, why is the banner not back there? How come the wall is bare? And there was a reason to why it was left without anything back there these last couple days. And that is because that banner hanging behind me that you can see here, it says Heritage Hill in Pompey, and it has on the other side of it Heritage Hill in North Syracuse, and in the middle of it here it says proud exclusive studio partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as Heritage Hill and Heritage Hill North are the proud exclusive studio partners of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, which means that for the first time ever today, I will say this and I will continue to say this, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is proudly brought to you inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. We are honored and privileged to have the Heritage Hill name connected to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. There's a lot of great things that are going to come up from this partnership, including being on site, on location, twice a month at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse. Yesterday, they had their grand opening ribbon-cutting ceremony. And for the first time ever, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora was on site, on location, to begin a partnership with a business at the same time that they were having their grand opening. I want to thank Dan Palladino and everyone at Palladino Farms, as well as at Heritage Hill, for the incredible opportunity to take such a wonderful community-based company and connect it with our community-based company and to branch out together, to grow together. And in those shows that we are going to do twice a month on-site on location at Heritage Hill North, I will have the opportunity to welcome and spotlight CNS North Stars Athletics. You know that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora proudly has worked many years with the West Genesee Wildcats at the Wildcat Sports Pub, the Liverpool Warriors at Avicoli's, and the Baldwinsville Bees at Pizza Man Pub. We've done shows over the years with CNS. You've seen us at different places, including Chick-fil-A Cicero. And now the CNS North Stars will have a home, as right down the road from CNS High School at Heritage Hill North, you will see the North Stars spotlight broadcast with student athletes, coaches, and administration happening every single month on site at Heritage Hill North. So please join me in welcoming a fantastic partner, a wonderful business, locally owned and operated with local creations, as Heritage Hill North and Heritage Hill Brewhouse proudly are officially the exclusive studio partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We look forward to seeing you on site on location. We look forward to being at Heritage Hill North and coming out and visiting Heritage Hill Brewhouse in Pompey. And we are so grateful to God for this opportunity, for this blessing, and thankful to Dan Palladino and to all of you for your support over the years and for listening and being a part of the show. The banner that hangs behind me, I don't take that lightly. And I'm very selective about that. And our studio partner has found a home with Heritage Hill. So, with that being said, we're here today on every Thursday with Papa Joe. And I now welcome Papa Joe to the show for the first time ever this way, saying that Papa Joe is joining Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. PJ, welcome.
That's me.
So what do you think, PJ? Going to come up here and check out some Heritage Hill when you come up north?
Well, I'm going to have to. MT and I are going to have to zip up there, and I know you have enough room for us up there.
Yes, we do.
We'll see what the summer brings. I'm not traveling too much anymore. As a matter of fact, I may not travel again, period. So that I just may be staying here in St. Augustine. I don't even know if I want to go back to Milwaukee. So I'm sort of in a little slump about all that. It's too difficult for me to travel.
Well, hopefully we could try and sneak you up here and have some fun with you, PJ. We appreciate you being here. Papa Joe and I have a lot of stuff to discuss this morning. You are watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora all around the world on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. However you're connected with the show, we thank you so much for tuning in Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. PJ and I today have many things to unpack. We're going to start in the baseball world and what's going on in Major League Baseball, including the unfortunate injuries to Anthony Rendon as well as to Mike Trout. PJ and I will be discussing baseball, including those pieces, and then we will jump into the 2024 quarterback draft class of this NFL draft and our thoughts on these quarterbacks that were drafted here and some steals that came later on in the draft. From there, PJ and I will discuss the 2024 draft class of the Jacksonville Jaguars in a special On the Prowl segment brought to you right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. So, with that being said, PJ, I proudly unleash you in the world of Major League Baseball, wherever you'd like to start, and then we will eventually get to Anthony Rendon and Mike Trout separately and speak on what's going on in their worlds. So where would you like to start in the world of baseball?
Well, what I usually do, I'll just go over the standings and the guys that are hitting the best, pitching the best, fielding the best. I got a little bit more to talk about today than normal because I am upset, very upset about Trout. I'm beside myself. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to read it. The guy's been snake bit for a couple of years, and he was going to carry the whole team on his back this year. Now he can't even do that. So never mind. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Let's go over the standings. I'll start with the American League East. Baltimore has surged to the front with a 19-11 record. They're hitting 250, average 250, and their ERA is 3.62, which isn't too shabby for a leader. The Yankees are 20-12. They're hitting 246, and their ERA is 2.97. That is terrific. Boston is 18-13. They're hitting 251 as a team, and their ERA is 2.57. Amazing what Boston's done since last year. They were nobody last year. Baltimore was nobody last year. And look at these guys coming on. They got some real good young players, and Boston with a 2.57 ERA. My gosh, that is awful tough. I mean, they win some games 3-2 or 2-1 or things like that, or 4-0, but they got to start hitting a lot better. I know that. All right, let's go over to the Central Division. Big surprise here. I think I've stated it over the years that the Central Divisions of both of these leagues suck.
Yeah.
But this year, not quite so. We got Cleveland leading the division at 20-10, 20 wins, 10 losses. KC's in 19-13. Detroit is 18-13. Cleveland's hitting 248 as a team. Their ERA is 3.35, which is why, folks, they're in the leading in this division. Kudos to them. I don't know if it's going to hang on, but we'll see what happens. In the West, we got Seattle's leading 17-14, 17 wins, 14 losses. Texas is 16-15. LA Angels are 11-20. I had to put that in there. Their last 11 games, they're 2-9.
Yeah.
Help. Seattle's only hitting 219 as a team, which sucks, which is why they got 14 losses. But their ERA is 2.96, which is why they're winning some games. So you got the American League. Some of the teams, I look for Baltimore, New York to continue to lead the league. The rest of the teams, I don't have much hope for. Texas probably will come on a little bit later. because they have all the big boppers. Let's go to the National League East, where the Atlanta Braves are 20 wins and 9 losses. They're hitting .266 as a team, which is great. And their ERA is 3.52, which is not too great. But they're so good, and they have so many players that they got 20 wins out of 29 games. Great. Philly, 21 wins, 11 losses. They're hitting .255. Their ERA is 3.37 as a team, which is why they're being close to Atlanta. Very close. These two teams should battle it out for the year. I look for Atlanta to edge ahead. Philly's got a couple of really good studs, starting pitchers that are doing really well for them. The Mets are 15-15 and are not going anywhere. Your Mets, sorry. we got Milwaukee in the Central Division. My Brewers are 19-11. They're hitting .258 as a team and an awful 3.98 ERA. Terrible. Chicago Cubs is 19-12. Cincinnati 16-11. Now there's a little give it and take here in Milwaukee and Chicago. The Milwaukee's manager, Craig Counsell, left the Brewers to go to Chicago. So you see why the Brewers are still in first place, but they have a good team. They have a new manager. But Chicago has really stepped it up 19-12 behind Craig Counsell, who was a hell of a player in his own right and was a better manager than Milwaukee. In the West, we got the LA Dodgers are 20-13. They're hitting .271 as a team, which really leads everyone. They're just bopping it all over the place. They're having a 3.53 ERA, which is too high. But they're so good, again, like Atlanta, that they have so many weapons that they can win 10-8 games and 9-7 games and things like that. Every once in a while, they can throw a 2-1 game in there. San Francisco is 14-17 in second spot. I got to mention Arizona because they're 14-18, Daniel. They're not doing much of anything. They're only hitting .249 as a team, and their ERA is 4.14.
Yeah.
Over 4 is not good, folks. Not good. Not at all. Let's go through some stats. American League, Sal Perez from Kansas City is hitting .355. Stephen Kwan from Cleveland is hitting .360. He's part of the reason why Cleveland is in the first place they are. And Jose Altuve from Houston is .341. Houston's not doing anything now. No one can hit except for Altuve. Bregman's not hitting. They got some problems. They got a new skipper too, so they got to work through some problems. Home runs, we got Mike Trout is leading 10. Of course, that's all gone. Gunnar Henderson from Baltimore has got 10. Baltimore has probably 5 of the best young players I've seen come in the league in 20 years. These guys can all play and they can all hit. And there's a reason why Baltimore has been creeping up the last couple of years. They're going to really stick it this year, I think. Salvador Perez has 27 RBIs. Juan Soto from the Yankees has got 25. No surprise there. National League hitters, and Mookie Betts is leading everyone at 377. To me, Mookie Betts is a shoo-in for the most valuable player this year. He can hit 300 the rest of the year and still be MVP. He's been sensational over the years. With Boston, he was great. He should have won a couple times, or at least once, when Trout beat him out. He's got everything. He's hitting 377. Alex Bowen from Philly is hitting 362. Will Smith from from LA is hitting 355. And Ohtani is hitting 336. That's why LA is hitting 271 as a team when you got 3 of the first 4 guys, Betts, Smith, and Ohtani, just killing the ball. Very hard to beat Los Angeles. And I just received some news this morning that Walker Buehler, who's been off for 2 years with a Tommy John problem, had surgery. Actually, had 2 surgeries. So he's been out 2 years. And he's been thrown into minor leagues, and he's going to start next week. We'll see what kind of stuff he's got. For the big boppers, Marcell Ozuna from Atlanta has got 9 homers and 32 RBIs. We got some pitching to talk about, which is always fun. In the American League, Jose Berrios from Toronto has 4 wins. He's got a 1.44 ERA. Great. Seth Lugo has got 5 wins from Kansas City. He's got a 1.60 ERA. great. Tarek Skubal, Detroit's got 4 wins. Grayson Rodriguez from Baltimore's got 4 wins. Clay Holmes from the Yankees has got 10 saves, and that leads the American League. National League, you got Tyler Glasgow, absolute steal of the season when he signed from Tampa Bay. This guy's the real deal. Has been for several years. Now he's with a team that can actually hit. He's got him, Roger Suarez of Philly, Reed Carrera from the Mets, and A.J. Minter from Atlanta. They all have 5 wins. Glasgow's got a 2.72 ERA. He's in every game. Roger Suarez has got a 1.32. Philly, these guys, the pitchers are carrying it. They're carrying the team early until the big boppers get moving. It's fun to watch them. Glasgow's plain flat nasty when he throws. You got Roger Helmsley, Robert Suarez, and Kyle Finnegan of Washington. They all got 10 saves.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have anything else to talk about in this. It upsets me. I have to rant about this, and I really am upset about it, about Trout. Since he won 3 most valuable players in 7 years, from that point on, something's happened to his body. I know he's a player. He goes out every single game, every single play he has to. The other day, before he came out with a bad knee, he had a single and stolen a base. Now, if he's got a bad knee, how can he steal a base? That's the way he is. He's a gutty player. And unfortunately, he's probably having surgery as we speak. And I assume that he's going to be out maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Now, Rendon's another story. Rendon came over from Washington, has not done anything for L.A. I thought that they would be a great 1-2 punch. Then when Ohtani, 1-2-3 punch, they couldn't get out of their own way because of pitching. Rendon will be on the RL, I don't know how long. He's got a hamstring, a major disappointment. They signed him for over $200 million. I mean, geez. I don't know. These guys, some of these guys are tougher than the others. No doubt that Trout's a toughie. This is upsetting. And I said that they're 11-20, and they're 2-9 in the last 11 games. They're probably going to wind up with well over 100 losses this year without Trout playing. Rendon may come back maybe a couple weeks, 3 weeks, who knows. They got some decent pitching, but not enough poppers to get some run-ins. It's kind of sad, but all of us that are baseball guys, we want to see the best out there. We want to see their best effort out there. Yeah. People when guys, I remember watching Mickey Mantle when I was a kid. Mickey Mantle could barely walk sometimes. His knees were so bad. He was out there playing center field. You can imagine that, Yankee Stadium, and hitting and stealing bases with 2 bum knees. He was a gamer, and Trout is too. But I think owners want to protect their investment a little bit more this year. They're in the new age. They don't want to pay $500 million for Trout and have him go out there and hurt himself even more. So, hey, they bite the bullet and say, Mike, take 4 to 6 weeks off, get better, come back, play maybe at the end of the season and see what you can do. We'll set up for next year. Next year, he's going to be 35 years old. Who knows if he's going to bounce back from another knee injury. Well, that's a tough rant for me, Daniel. So that's all for baseball right now.
Yeah, and when you look at this, you look at what's going on in the baseball world, like you said, these injuries to Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon, and and I've talked about it here on the show, and I've talked about it, really every time we talk about Mike Trout, is that, when we look at what's going on with him, I've said every year, I'm always like, it's good to see him if he stay, I hope he stays healthy. Anytime I talk about Mike Trout, I'm like, okay, well, let's see if he can stay healthy. I think he's obviously, he can hit the ball, he could do some great things, but he has to stay healthy. It's always about why doesn't he stay healthy? And we look at his current situation and kind of looking at some background about this. Mike Trout, torn meniscus. He will be out indefinitely. So, here he is sidelined again. And I think he's, as much as he's well known for how he hits the ball, he's also well known for how often he gets injured. And we look at the torn meniscus; it's in his left knee. He's going to undergoing surgery, and that was announced earlier this week. There's not a timetable. It's not believed to be a season-ending injury, but it is something that doesn't have a specific timetable here. In 2021, a torn calf muscle limited Trout to just 36 games. In 2022, he was able to play 119 games, but a back injury led to him taking some time out as well. Last season in 2023, he had a hand injury after fouling a pitch off of it that limited him to 82 games. So we got the COVID year of 2020, which was abridged. Then we have 2021, where he's out and he plays just 36 games. Then he plays over 100 games, but has a back injury that keeps him out a certain amount of time in 2022. And in 2023, he has a hand injury. Now in 2024, he has a meniscal tear. So we're now looking at 4 straight seasons where he's not going to play a full season. From 2021 to 2023, Mike Trout missed 249 games, more than half of the possible games that he could have played in. And now he's going to miss even more time. So we look at that side of it. And just, we look at he was hitting 220 this season. He had 10 home runs. He had the first home run on American soil in the 2024 season of every MLB franchise of the 30 franchises out there. He's leading the league right now with 10 home runs. He has 14 RBIs. And yet, we're going to miss him again. We're going to be without him yet again in this world of sports. And then on Anthony Rendon's side, Anthony Rendon he has a situation with a hamstring tear, and this looks like it could take him out even longer. There is no timetable for his return, but it's a lengthy absence is what they're looking at here. He sustained the injury while beating out an infield single on Saturday in Cincinnati. He had no prior issues with his hamstring. He underwent testing and received multiple opinions before announcing the extent of his injury. It's another significant injury for Rendon. He's yet to play in more than 60 games in a season with the Angels after signing a 7-year, $245 million deal before the 2020 season. So you look at that 2020 COVID abridged year, and then Mike Trout being injured in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Well, Anthony Rendon signs that 7-year, $245 million deal before the 2020 season. So we're looking at around the same time here. He comes to the Angels, and he has yet to play more than 60 games in a season of 162 regular season games. So he has yet to play more than 60 games, which means per season, guys missing 100 games at least, after the Angels went and gave him almost $250 million. Now, he said, quote, "I'm definitely not going to be back in the 10-day window. It's been 4 years running now, so I was angry for a few days, frustrated, mad, everything you could imagine because the game keeps getting taken away from me, right? I want to win, and I want to be out there. I do everything in my power to stay out there, and it seems like nothing is working." He's 33 years old. He was hitting 267, 325, and 307 with 3 doubles and 3 RBIs in 19 games before being placed on the 10-day injured list recently here. And he, after starting the season 0 for 19, was hitting 395 over the last 11 games, 17 of 43. So now we're seeing him going to be out here. So we're looking at the Los Angeles Angels and what this team has been. With Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout together on the same team, they never went to the postseason together. In 13 seasons for Mike Trout, he went to the postseason with the Angels 1 time. But with Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, arguably both MVP caliber people every single year when healthy, they didn't make the playoffs a single time. Anthony Rendon, add him into this mix, and you look at the fact that Shohei Ohtani is out there with the Dodgers, still in LA, still in the exact same city. It's kind of like when you break up with someone and they move to an apartment across the way. You got to see them every single day, but They're not with you anymore. So seeing that and seeing that situation, we're now looking at the fact that this team was not doing anything when they had two superstars playing together. They weren't going to the playoffs. Now they have Anthony Rendon, who's supposed to bring a lot to the table, and they still have Mike Trout. So while Shohei Ohtani is out there living his life, still in LA and being successful with the Dodgers, Anthony Rendon and Mike Trout are watching the game because they're both sidelined yet again. Anthony Rendon, folks, when we look back on his history with the Angels, when he played for the Washington Nationals, he played in 98, 153, 80, 156, 147, 136, and 146 games. For the Angels, since signing that huge deal going into the COVID year, now granted, the COVID season was abridged, so we look at that COVID season and say, okay, in 2020, he played in 52 games, but that was a shortened season. In 2021, he played in 58 games. 2022, Rendon played in 47, 2023 in 43, and he's played in 19 games this season. So you look at the bulk of his time with the Nationals, he's playing in almost every single regular season game. Since signing the contract with the Angels, this man is not topping 59, let alone 60 games in a season. So we talk about Mike Trout and we focus on Mike Trout and that Shohei's not there anymore. You add in the factor that Anthony Rendon is a $245 million contract with a guy that doesn't play in 60 of 162 games a season, and it adds insult to injury, figuratively and literally, as we look at the future here, PJ. These numbers are awful. Mike Trout being injured every single one of the last 4 seasons, and Anthony Rendon not only being injured, but not being on the field for 60 games of 162 in all of his years with LA is absolutely sad for both gentlemen. But for the Angels, this is just awful, looking at Shohei in the same city, Mike Trout on the bench again, and the fact that their investment in Anthony Rendon has not even given them 60 games with him in any one of the last 4 seasons since the COVID season.
I have another theory that I go back to, and I follow this stuff pretty closely, and I look for trends. I remember when Joe Madden won the World Series with the Cubs back in 2016, he was spirited away by the Angels to be their manager. Joe Madden single-handedly carried Tampa Bay to several division championships and almost a World Series win. He's an amazing manager. Players love him. He's shrewd. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. So he goes to L.A., and he realized that he didn't have the talent there that he had in Tampa, because he had to mix and match around in Tampa just to get some wins, and then good pitching just to get in the playoffs. Well, the powers that be in the Angels, they may have made a good deal with Ohtani, but the rest of the team is not very good. Without being obsessed about it, I am, but. They gave away some good players. Walsh is one of them. Went to Philadelphia. Joe Madden did the best he could when he was there to get L.A. in a winning mood.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it. And they fired him midway through the year. And I'm thinking to myself, how the hell can you fire Joe Madden, who was a manager of the year twice, 2 times when he was at Tampa Bay, and once when he was at Chicago? 3-time manager of the year, and you fire him? You need better players, L.A. So you got to go out and get them. You know, sure, you got 2 superstars. Trout and Rendon are not going to play. They're not going to play for the next month. Let's put it that way. At least a month. Rendon, I don't know what the problem with Rendon is. I know he's a head case, but I followed him pretty much in Washington. He's a great, plays a hell of a third base, and hits the hell out of the ball. So, I don't know. I think it all started back with Joe Madden years ago, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So, whatever it is, it is. I think that L.A. is going to have to put themselves in a room somewhere and when the season's over, and come up with some answers. I remember I told you on the show 3 years ago, I think, that the Angels were in the draft, and they were drafting the college players, and they've had 15 picks, and all 15 were pitchers because they thought they had enough hitting. Well, they didn't have enough hitting, and only 3 of those 15 pitchers are still available to throw. So they're not doing their scouting job right. They're not doing their perusal of other players that are free agents to want to come to L.A. Who'd love to come to L.A. play for Mike Trout? Are you kidding me? But it's not going to happen. This team will be miserable this year, and as usual, every week I'll tell you how miserable they're playing.
Yeah, and it is. It's just, I mean, the Angels and that was the whole point of this multi-layered argument is with the talent, they don't win. Without the talent, they don't win. They're not winning with these guys. They're not winning without these guys. But you really start to look at this and say, okay, if you're the Los Angeles Angels, what are you going to do? Are you going to hold on to Mike Trout? Are you going to keep this thing going? Are you going to keep relying and just hoping that things eventually work out with Mike Trout? What's your plan as you step forward with him? Because he hasn't been out there for you. He's not somebody you can rely on. And, I mean, overall, the reality of this situation in LA with the Angels is you weren't going to the playoffs with Shohei Ohtani. You weren't going to the playoffs with Mike Trout outside of one time a long time ago. You're not going to the playoffs with Anthony Rendon. So you've spent all this money. You've lost one of those 3 players in Shohei. When they're out there, you're not going anywhere. When they're not out there, you're really not going anywhere. And, I mean, it's a series of unfortunate events. And that's the real tough thing here is on paper, the Angels spend a lot of money. On paper, the Angels look like they're trying to win. On paper, the Angels have gotten some really awesome talent. Think about it. You got an MVP guy in Mike Trout. You got an MVP guy in Shohei Ohtani. They were on the same team. On the same team. We're privileged just to have them in the same league at the same time. They were on the exact same team, and they never went to the postseason together. And Mike Trout continues. I mean, every time I think about Mike Trout, the first thing I think about, besides his hitting, is he gets injured all the time. And it's frustrating. I'm sure more than, anybody out there, it's frustrating for Mike and his family. And God willing, I pray he gets better and never gets hurt again. Same thing with Anthony Rendon and everybody else out there, including you and me, PJ. I'm just thrown by the fact that when healthy, the Angels go nowhere. When injured, the Angels go nowhere. And when they have 2 MVP guys, not even one, the Angels go nowhere. And they spend the money and the Angels go nowhere. You're looking at a team that's like the Oakland A's didn't spend a lot of money last year, and they were awful. The Los Angeles Angels spent a ton of money last year, and they were awful. And so they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do moving forward here, because you can say it's a series of unfortunate events, and you could say we have bad luck. But, I mean, for goodness sakes, you can't sit here for 4 years and say, well, we just had 4 years of bad luck, and what are we supposed to do? I mean, you got to be proactive. You got to do what's in your control, and they're going to have to figure out how they're going to move these things and what they're going to do and who they're going to have on the team and what type of talent that they're going to bring in, because the Los Angeles Angels they've had such a very dismal past few years, and it's absolutely exhausting and just emotionally draining, I'm sure, for Angels fans to watch this. One thing I wanted to get to outside of all of this is that the Milwaukee Brewers, that you know all about, and the Tampa Bay Rays, that you know all about, got in a big fight yesterday. Manager Pat Murphy is suspended, as well as Tampa Bay Rays outfielder Jose Siri. They got suspensions for their roles that led to a bench-clearing brawl yesterday Tuesday night, between the two teams in the 8th inning. Now, Brewers starting pitcher Freddie Peralta got a 5-game suspension for intentionally throwing at Siri during the top of the 6th inning of the Brewers' 8-2 victory. Abner Uribe he got 6 games after he and Siri squared off against each other 2 innings later. So Abner, the reliever, he is also suspended. Siri got a 3-game suspension that was reduced to 2 games, while Murphy will miss 2 games as a result of Peralta's actions in addition to his inappropriate conduct toward umpires. All 4 of them were also fined in this, and so Siri's penalty was reduced when he reached an agreement with Major League Baseball after he appealed. He served the first game as the Rays lost 7-1 last night. So Uribe as well as Peralta appealed to the MLB Special Assistant John McHale Jr. Their discipline remained pending until the appeal is resolved. Later Wednesday, Uribe was optioned to AAA Nashville. So not only is he suspended and fined, but he has now been sent down to AAA. So that's a 3-hitter there. And under the rules, managers are not allowed to appeal. So Murphy started serving his suspension yesterday. And Peralta and Murphy were ejected after the right-hander hit Siri on a 3-0 pitch in the 6th. But then in the 8th, Siri and Uribe had words as they crossed paths after the Rays outfielder grounded out to first base. Punches were thrown. Both benches cleared before they were able to stop everything that's going on here. The animosity between Siri and the Brewers, it has been stated as building, since he took a long look at his solo home run off Peralta in the 3rd inning of that game. So it was kind of a game where didn't just happen in the moment. It was building over time from what I'm seeing here. And Siri revealed a bruise on his left leg that formed after getting hit by the 3-0 fastball from Peralta before Wednesday's game. So Siri said, quote, "He was the one who threw first. I don't think I did anything bad," end quote. And they remained unsure why Uribe took a swing at him, is what Siri said. He said, quote, "When I was on deck circle and I was warming up, I felt like he kept looking over at me and staring at me, so I just had that feeling. Obviously, when I went to first base, I confirmed that he had a problem with me," end quote. So, PJ, we've seen this happen. It happens in baseball, and we know that this happens. We know that this is something that has gone on throughout the years, is the bench clearing and the brawl and whatnot. In this situation, we're seeing Brewers and Rays that have been suspended, and we're seeing multiple Brewers that have been suspended, and then Jose Siri on the Rays side. Your take on this? Did you see it? These are 2 teams that I know you obviously talk to me about a lot. So what's your take on the most recent brawl in baseball?
It's childish, frankly. Some of these Dominican players that come up, first of all, they can't speak English. And if they're going to start fighting, they better start fighting a guy that doesn't speak their language. So you hear a lot of yelling and screaming out there, but you don't hear a lot of English words. Baseball is a difficult game to play because there's so much to know and do. But one thing is certain, baseball is a hard ball. It ain't soft. If you get on a guy that throws 95 miles an hour and whizzes one past your head, you're going to turn right around and look straight at him. The umpire's just going to walk out and say, "Get back in the box and let's go." But with something brewing like this, the umpires know what's going on. They can hear the chatter. I wouldn't be surprised if half them spoke Spanish. They hear the chatter. They know what's going on. So they're on the lookout. I don't know. There's an unwritten rule in baseball, and I know it's stupid, and I'm going to say it anyway, but that's what it is. Is the umpire or the managers do not typically throw at batters. Pitchers throw at batters. If someone was hit, like Trout was hit in the knee or hit in the arm, went to first base, next guy that comes up, all right, they change sides. Los Angeles is pitching, and the first guy that comes up, they plunk him in the leg. Why did they do that? Because you hit Trout, no, I'm going to hit one of your guys. Managers don't do that. They don't say that. They just look. They'll look at their starting pitcher, and they don't have to say anything. They just look.
Yep.
And then the pitcher will nod his head, and he knows what he's got to do. He's got to hit a guy. The only problem I have is that you don't throw above the letters. You can't do that, folks. The letters are the numbers on your uniform, because it's dangerous. You hit a guy in the head or in the ear or the jaw or something, they may die.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's a hard ball, and these guys don't throw little lollipops up there. They're throwing vicious stuff. If you want to hit someone in the leg or the foot, go do it. An umpire doesn't care about that kind of stuff, although he will sense some type of retaliation, and then he'll say something. A lot of times he'll just, when teams are changing sides, he'll walk over to one dugout and, look at the manager and say, let's stop this stuff, okay? And he'll go to the other side and let's stop this stuff. We don't need this kind of stuff. The umpires are in control, but if you're going to throw at someone's head, you're throwing at their livelihood, and that's not what you can do. If you're going to hit a guy, don't hit him up there.
Well, and the thing is, too, and there's the argument of, should you be able to hit a player, and the jail yard justice of, they did something, so now I'm going to send it back to them, and we're going to even things out, and then, we're going to be fine. This guy did this, and then I'm going to do that, and then we're going to call it a day. So, my whole thing is I don't want you to hit anybody. I mean, that's the way I look at it. Violence only begets more violence. If you throw a pitch and you try to send a message to one of my players and you skim over his head, then, my pitcher's going to come up and they're going to go after you as well. And maybe they skim over your head or maybe they go straight for your leg. And then it goes back and forth until eventually, typically, the bench is clear. And it's just not something to have in baseball. It's not something to go through the first time. And you understand that when it happens to a player, the other team wants to have your back. They want to even it out. It's in, any sport, right? John Wallace used to tell me they're on the basketball court. They see somebody do something to one of their teammates at Syracuse. So they come down the court. They know where the officials are. They outrun the officials. They turn around to set up their body. They elbow you in the face and they turn around and they go for a jump shot. And then they let you know, okay, I just hit you in the face. That's my way of saying enough is enough. So don't do it again. Then if they do it again, then you do it again. And then eventually it turns out in these suspensions and all these fines and things you don't want to see. I got one more note on baseball here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, with Papa Joe this morning. Last season, my Arizona Diamondbacks were absolutely killing it at stolen bases. This season, they're quiet. The Cincinnati Reds lead the nation with 55 stolen bases, followed by the Washington Nationals at 53. They're the only two teams that have at least 50 stolen bases so far this season. The Brewers are third with 40. Phillies have 33. The Guardians and the Rays have 32. The Angels and the Royals have 31. The Red Sox 28. The Mets 26. And then the Orioles have 24. Padres 23. Dodgers 22. Braves have 20. Those are all the teams with 20 or more. Under 20 are a bunch of teams, including the Arizona Diamondbacks, that only have 16 stolen bases this season, joining the Blue Jays and the Marlins, as well as the Athletics and the White Sox. So, and you don't want to be in the same conversation as the Athletics and the White Sox because they are not doing that well this season, although the Athletics are doing better and have done better than the White Sox to start off early on. But leading the league in stolen bases, the Cincinnati Reds are currently doing that, with each team playing somewhere around 30 to 32 games this season. Any final notes, PJ, before we take a step aside here and jump into the NFL world? I do want to make a note here, a very early polling. I put up 3 polls on X. You can go and follow us on X, the former Twitter, by going to @CallDT. That's CALLDT on X. Click follow. We put up polls all the time, especially typically weekly or bi-weekly with Papa Joe during Thursday's broadcast. And so our polls that I put up this morning: should the Los Angeles Angels and Mike Trout part ways? Very early polling says yes. Nobody has said no. A question for the NFL that we're going to get into: what grade would you give the Jacksonville Jaguars for their draft selections in the 2024 NFL Draft? A, B, C, or D? None of you have given them a C. None of you have given them a D. 66.7% have given the Jaguars a B, and 33.3% have given them an A. And my other question, what wide receiver would you bet on going to the Buffalo Bills in the 2024 NFL offseason? 16.7% of you said T. Higgins. 33.3% said Deebo Samuel. 50% said neither. And 0% said both. So we'll get into these polls and we'll take a look at them as we go throughout this morning's broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Gosh darn it, it feels good to say that. PJ, any final notes on baseball?
Yeah, I do have throwing at batters and everything. It's just part of the game. People that know the game understand that. But there's something that's real funny that happened years ago, and it had to do with a pitcher throwing at someone. There was a character that played for the White Sox for years. John Kruk was his name. He was a left-handed hitter, power hitter. And, of course, Randy Johnson we know about him, being 6'9", throwing sidearm from the left, scaring the hell out of left-handed pitchers. They were in an all-star game, and Kruk goes up to the catcher and says, man, I can't hit this guy. He said, he's going to give me something good. So Kruk's in the batter's box. Randy Johnson winds up, throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball over his head. And Kruk just ducks out of the way, and everyone laughed because that's what was going to happen. He wasn't going to hit him, but it was funny. Kruk laughed, and of course Kruk struck out because in his mind he couldn't hit Randy Johnson. Very few people could hit Randy Johnson, and Johnson had a big kick out of it, and so did Kruk. So there's a little levity that can be enjoyed, but certainly not when you're throwing at someone's head, for real.
Yeah, and like I've had this conversation before of what's the justice of it all, and how do you even things out and send a message and yada yada. I just ultimately, above everything that I've ever said about it, I want people to be safe, and I definitely agree with you. You don't throw above the numbers, but at the same time, I mean, you take out a guy's leg, you take out his hands, you take out whatever. I mean, these pitchers, a lot of them have control, and they know where they're going to put the ball. And when they know where they're going to put the ball, if they want to hit something, they know where to go. And to have this ball coming in, I mean, remember back in the day, if a guy threw 94 miles an hour, you were like, wow. If he threw 100 miles an hour, he was one of 2 guys, 3 guys, 5 guys. Now these guys can, relievers can throw 100 miles an hour. And the reality of it all is that ball is hard, like you said. It comes in fast. And in a split second, you could end somebody's season. You can end somebody's career. And as much as I know that there's this kind of unspoken rule in baseball, there's also the spoken rule, in my opinion, that you should never seek to injure another person in any way, shape, or form on or off of a baseball field. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When PJ and I come back, we're going to shift gears from one field to the next here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. You will now hear the message from Heritage Hill Brewhouse, as well as Heritage Hill North and Palladino Farms, which you can find in the Syracuse Hancock International Airport. Their message coming up to you for the first time ever on Wake Up Call right now. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. We are, of course, inside of the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and it is an honor and a privilege for me to be able to say that Heritage Hill and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora connecting with each other here in such a unique way. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the taste of Heritage Hill. It was share that with them and to share that with, when I say him, Dan Palladino, the owner of Heritage Hill Brewhouse and Heritage Hill North, our exclusive studio partner. So the logos you see on your screen right now, you are going to see plenty of that, and you'll see these logos every broadcast Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, as you now see them right behind me in our studio partner banner here that will hang in our studio every day with my logo in the middle, the proud exclusive studio partner, Heritage Hill Brewhouse and Heritage Hill North, and we thank them so much for all that they do in our community, and we congratulate them on their official grand opening that I was a part of at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York, right there at Sweetheart Corner. So many congratulations and God bless on everything that is to come with their company and this wonderful partnership. So very excited about that. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Thursdays, we welcome the man that you know as the grand old smooth one, the go-so, PJ, P Jizzle for Shizzle my nizzle, Papa Joe, here on the broadcast here with us. So we're jumping from one field to the next, and we're going to be going right into the world of football and taking a look first and foremost at the 2024 quarterback draft class here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the quarterbacks that were drafted. So the QBs in the 2024 NFL draft, and in my opinion, some of these teams got themselves a steal in this draft, and definitely got some good things. There's some head scratchers. I'm gonna set the table here for Papa Joe and get his thoughts on it. We're gonna break it down into different pieces here. But there was a bunch of quarterbacks that were chosen for the NFL draft. Now, the last time that we saw 6 quarterbacks chosen in the first round of an NFL draft was back in 1983. It's been a long time since we've seen 5 quarterbacks chosen in the NFL drafts or 6 quarterbacks, chosen in the NFL draft. We have not seen that happen since we saw John Elway, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, Todd Blackledge, Tony Eason, and Ken O'Brien get chosen in the first round of the 1983 NFL draft. But this year was different, and this year made more history because for the second time ever, 6 quarterbacks were taken in the first round of an NFL draft, but there's never been 6 quarterbacks taken within the first 12 picks. 50% of the first 12 picks were quarterbacks, 6 of 12. It's the first time that this has ever happened in the history of the NFL. To have 6 quarterbacks chosen was tying history. To have 6 quarterbacks chosen in the first 12 picks is making history as we see those quarterbacks go inside of this 2024 NFL draft night number 1. The head-scratching moment of that night was the Atlanta Falcons, who just gave a 4-year, $180 million deal to Kirk Cousins to join their team. 4-year, $180 million deal with $100 million guaranteed.
That's filthy money, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. And then they make the decision. To take that 8th overall pick and draft Michael Penix Jr., who I like, who I enjoy, who I believe I'm becoming more and more a fan of. I have nothing against Michael Penix. I have nothing against him going out and getting his. Here are my thoughts. Drafting Michael Penix at the time that they drafted Michael Penix to me was a head scratcher. It didn't make sense for the team, and it didn't make sense for where they were selecting. To get the quarterback that they got, to draft a quarterback, I had the Atlanta Falcons taking edge rusher Dallas Turner. They end up taking quarterback Michael Penix Jr. after giving almost $200 million to Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins' contract was already a little bit head-scratching because you think to yourself, will he play 2 more seasons? Will he play maybe 3 more seasons? I'm thinking maybe 3 more seasons. But you give that guy a very large deal. The $100 million in guaranteed money, if you broke it down over the 4 years, means that Kirk Cousins, as an older quarterback in the NFL, is making at least $25 million a year. So when you give a contract like that and you take that guy away for the Minnesota Vikings, the thought is not that you're going to draft a quarterback in the top 8 picks and bring that guy in. So what's the plan? To sit Kirk Cousins and just waste money? To try and shop Kirk Cousins when you've already given him a contract that people probably don't want to take? Are you planning on sitting Michael Penix for the next 2 to 3 years? That did not make any sense. So, PJ, a lot of things to talk about, a lot of quarterbacks chosen, a lot of different stories to tell within the quarterback class of 2024, but I've opened up 2 conversations. The first one being that there's never been an NFL draft with 6 quarterbacks chosen in the first 12 picks of the first round. What are your thoughts on how fast quarterbacks went in the history that was made? And my second question to you is, of those 6 quarterbacks taken, what do you think about the Atlanta Falcons' decision to bring in Kirk Cousins for $180 million over 4 years with $100 million guaranteed, and after making that decision, drafting a quarterback 8th overall?
Well, the draft was fun to watch, and I'm glad I had a chance to watch most of it, even though I go to sleep very early. I did research these kids, and there's nothing wrong with these 6 guys, other than Penix being drafted a little bit higher. These NFL teams, they have a huge research network. They're out there. They've got their fingers in everywhere. They're looking at Division III players, 2 players, 1 players. they got their fingers on everything, and they know what players are out there that could be available to learn. To make it an easy question, learn. You don't spend the money on a Penix for him to learn. This guy knows how to play football. He's old. He's 23 years old, just like Nick's is 24 years old. I love the 6 guys. I think they all have they have great talent. Penix maybe not so much, but I have opinions on all 6 of these guys.
Yeah.
So you want me to go into that?
Well, and I'm going to mention these guys, and then we'll jump into it here. My predictions in the draft, as you saw from Pizza Man Pub last week, we have been at Pizza Man for the last 3 years. It's been our draft headquarters, and we bring you our mock draft of the first round. And Al Romano, who won a national championship with Tony Dorsett on the Pittsburgh Panthers for college football, him and I sit down year to year. He makes his picks 1 through 32. I make my picks 1 through 32. We don't show each other our picks. And then we go live from the stage at Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York, prior to the draft on draft night. So this year we started a little bit after 6. The draft starts at 8. So we went through our entire first round mock draft, leading you right into the actual draft. So you got our thoughts on draft night of who we thought would go. And then people inside of the bar restaurant were trying to see if we were right after that. They were looking at us. A pick would come in. They'd look at us. Who did you have? Who did you have? So it was a lot of fun. It made it interactive. And to me, it brought the draft home to Central and Upstate New York. Well, I'm going to go through these picks here. Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, I had going to the Chicago Bears. So did Al. The number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels to the Washington Commanders. I originally thought Drake May, but I flipped it to Jaden Daniels. On draft night, I solidified that was going to be my choice, and that happened. Number 3, Drake May going to the Patriots. I had that as well. Number 8, Michael Penix going to the Falcons. I don't think anybody in this world had. Number 10, maybe they did, J.J. McCarthy. I had the Minnesota Vikings trading up to number 4 with Arizona to get J.J. McCarthy at 4. But no matter where they drafted, 4, if they stayed at 11, I had the Minnesota Vikings getting J.J. McCarthy no matter what. They traded up 1 spot with the Jets and went from 11 to 10 and got him at number 10. Number 12, I predicted that Bo Nix would go to the Denver Broncos, and he did. So in these 6 quarterbacks drafted in the top 12, I had all of the teams correct for 5 out of 6, and the only outlier was the Michael Penix head scratcher that had everybody going, what the heck just happened? So again, I'm happy for Michael Penix. Again, I like him. Again, I believe he's talented. I just don't understand the Falcons drafting him. I have no problem with him being drafted. I'm really excited for what he can do. I just am very confused by Atlanta spending a high draft pick after bringing in Kirk Cousins for so much money. But PJ, now your thoughts on these 6 quarterbacks drafted and your thoughts on the fact that I got 5 of these 6 picks correct with them going to the team that I predicted.
Pretty good selections. Those are good selections. You did a lot of work. Caleb Williams is no surprise. He's supremely talented, obviously, natural. I guess he's got a lack of consistency. I believe that, unfortunately, he's going to be thrown right into the fight, just like what Justin Fields did. They're going to throw him right in there. If he's not mature enough to handle this, he's in a real pickle. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it's a terrible situation when you're a quarterback and you're picked first and you're expected to start and play at a high level. I mean, that's a lot to ask for the kid. Sure, he's talented, but, he's been running around with kids. Now he's being chased by grown men, so he better have it. Jaden Daniels, watched him most of the year from LSU. I guess he's another Lamar Jackson, if you want to say that. He puts a lot of pressure on the defense, that's for sure. He's got good arm strength. I think he's I don't know what kind of offensive system they have at Washington, but I hope they use his talents well. And please, Jaden, don't run so much because you're going to hear the GOSO bitch about it every week on the show. So don't run. Drake May comes from a family steeped in tradition and talent, mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and everything. This guy has it all, in my opinion. He's got good ball placement, decision making. He needs to, again, he needs to play in a faster game, and with bigger guys coming at him. Let's see how these guys work out. The same with Caleb and Jaden and Drake. They're all the same. The three best quarterbacks. They all got good arm strength. They're all talented. They all have some difficulties in areas, but that's what coaching's about, and that's what they'll do. To Michael Penix. Now, Michael, you were a good quarterback at Washington. You have a big arm, no doubt about that. He was hurt a lot, though. He's 23 years old. He's older, like Bo Nix. He needs to anticipate more on his passes. I think he maybe just hangs around a little bit too much in the product. Why he's probably got hurt. To answer your question about what is Atlanta doing, the answer is I don't know. Kirk Cousins is one of the preeminent quarterbacks in this league and has been for several years.
Yeah.
He's a stud. He can win anywhere. As long as he's got 3 or 4 good receivers out there, he can throw the hell out of the ball. Now, he's doing a political right thing by saying, I'm glad Mike is here. I'll sit down and talk with him. He's a good guy at it. Penix is saying, I'm glad I was drafted. I can sit with him, and I can learn from him, that. You know, what the hierarchy did is they put Kirk Cousins in a very, very uncomfortable position. Not because the drafting of Penix, but because they need other areas of help. They need defense. They need offensive line. You know, Penix is probably going to be there in the middle of the first round. The rest of these quarterbacks that we're going to talk about, none of these guys. Some of these guys are good. I mean, really good. So I think Atlanta, what they did is they made a mistake in drafting the quarterback. That's my opinion. They should have drafted. You hear a lot about a selection of need. Well, they need quarterbacks. They need defensive line. They need offensive line. You know, do that. If Michael's still around later, fine. If you have another quarterback in mind, pick him. He's going to sit anyway. Penix, he may even be traded, Daniel. I mean, some of the teams go into their into their camps and they find that things aren't going well, and they think that Penix is over there and maybe we can grab him or something. Well, it's up to them. J.J. McCarthy is he's a winner. I mean, what can you say? I mean, he has all the physical and mental makeup. He just needs time, is all. He's got great tools, and he's a winner. That's all you can say. I mean, last year he played really well, and this year even better. So I look for Minnesota to really thrive with him. I don't think they'll run him too much, thank goodness. But he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's a smart kid. And I look for him to really grow. And I think it'll help Minnesota in the long run. Maybe not next year, a couple of years, but 3-4 years down the line, I think he's going to work out just well. In Denver, my man Bo Nix, I told you several times that he was my pick, and I'm glad he went in the first round because again he's older. 6 years he spent in college, 4 with Auburn, 2 at Oregon. I mean, what can you say? He's got big arm, big legs. Maybe he runs around a little bit too much. He needs to be a little bit more disciplined. But he is. There's a need right there for Denver for a quarterback, and they needed a mature person like a Bo Nix or Michael Penix. Bo Nix, they don't have to show him how to play football. Yeah. He knows how to play football. What they'll do is they'll show him their way of doing things. With Sean Payton is brilliant, so Bo Nix is going to do what Sean says, and I think they'll blossom all right. I think he will probably blossom a little bit more than McCarthy because there's more need at Denver, and because Nix is older. I mean, McCarthy is not a young kid. I mean, he's a senior. I mean, I think he's 22 years old, something like that. But Bo Nix is aged, and he's aged on the football field, and he knows what he's doing. So those 6 right there, I think we're going to see some good things with them. With the Penix things, I don't know what to say other than good luck.
Well, yeah, and in looking at some of these guys, I mean, Drake May and Jaden Daniels, I went back and forth with who I thought Washington should take, who I thought they were going to take. There were times where I said, I think Drake May is the number one guy to go out, and even if it's said that they're going to take Caleb Williams at number one, maybe they should reconsider and look at Drake May. After watching Drake May's film, and just taking some time with it, and I'm here in the studio looking through this stuff, I feel like Drake May's ball doesn't come in as fast. I think when you watch his highlights, you see, and granted, highlights are just pieces of games, of course, but you see the fact that his receivers are out in the field and they have to slow down and wait for his ball. In the NFL, that's not going to fly. And so to me, it's like, does he throw a good ball? Can he get the ball down the field? Yeah, but at the same time, when he's throwing and he's trying to get this ball down the field, you can see his receivers kind of slow up, kind of wait for it. They've already ran the route. They're where they're supposed to be, and the ball's still hanging in the air. And that's something that he's going to have to work on. Jaden Daniels, the more I watch, the more I think Washington got themselves a really good quarterback. We could be coming out of this draft saying that Jaden Daniels is one of the better ones to come out of this. Maybe he creates a change in Washington. They've waited a million years to have a positive chapter, and this could be their positive chapter. They got a guy who can run. They got a guy, Drake May can take off when he needs to, and I think more than Tom Brady, maybe he creates some of those opportunities for New England to get out of the pocket and be able to scurry for a first down. But watching Jaden Daniels, there's just something different about him. There's something about the way that he moves the ball down the field, and I honestly think I'm excited for the Washington Commanders, truly. I think Washington's got a really good chance of doing something really special here with this kid, and I'm really looking forward to it. But, you mentioned, and I saw Caleb Williams play live. So, watching Caleb Williams play live and seeing what he did in the Cotton Bowl game, there's an interesting thing that I brought up earlier this week, and I'm going to bring it up again. And that is the fact that Michael Pratt, who was chosen in the 7th round by the Green Bay Packers to back up Jordan Love, Jordan Love's backup from the Tulane Green Wave. To paint a little picture for you, I've covered Michael Pratt. I've interviewed Michael Pratt multiple times, and I cover the American Athletic Conference heavily. Well, Michael Pratt, a couple Cotton Bowls ago, went up against the USC Trojans and quarterback Caleb Williams. Going up against Caleb Williams, this game was a shootout, and I think a lot of people counted the Tulane Green Wave out before the game even started. They definitely counted them out when USC started scoring and doing what they were doing. And ultimately, when you go back and you watch that game, which I suggest you do, it's an instant classic that I got to be a part of in Cowboys Stadium down in Arlington, Texas. And Michael Pratt helped lead his team to beat Caleb Williams. The offense, the defense, and special teams, they were all clicking. I don't want to take anything away from any of the units. And to include Michael Pratt in this, Caleb Williams did some incredible feats with his body and just the way his comfort, his wherewithal, his ability to move and stay poised, plant his feet quick and get the ball down the field. He was incredible to watch. And yet the 7th round quarterback chosen, Michael Pratt, and his team beat the number 1 overall pick. So that's a little history for you to think about, knowing where Michael went when we look at the future and knowing where Caleb Williams went in this draft. Just something interesting to see. But Caleb Williams, watching him live, he's very talented. Watching Jaden Daniels, I, fully admit that I didn't know a lot about him. I didn't watch a lot of LSU games, and so I did not pay attention to exactly what he was doing, and shame on me for that. But watching his film, I am absolutely moved by Jaden Daniels, and I honestly think that he could end up being a better quarterback maybe than what we see from Caleb Williams in the long run, and what he can do with the Washington Commanders. I'm a fan of watching J.J. McCarthy. Going into the draft, I spoke about, really enjoying J.J. McCarthy. This man has gotten out of a lot of situations where there's been pressure, and just being able to throw the ball on the run and throw the ball when he's being chased all over the field. There's something to be said about that, in my opinion. So I do like J.J. McCarthy. I'm excited for him in Minnesota. I'm a big, like I said, Jaden Daniels, to me, I think could end up potentially passing Caleb Williams when we look back on this. Drake May's got to get the ball out faster. J.J. McCarthy, did he throw the ball more on the run than he threw it in the pocket? I mean, when you watch his highlight film, he's on the run, and he's just beaming this ball downfield. So I'm happy for the Minnesota Vikings for getting him. And then to go to Michael Penix Jr., Michael Penix is a talented guy. And when you hear him talk and you hear the things that matter to him, that's really cool too. I think as a person, there's things that I like about Michael Penix that I'm looking forward to hearing more of and getting to know him more. I remember seeing him talk during this draft, and all I could think, all I'm thinking to myself is, I really want to interview this guy. I really want to sit down with Michael Penix. And also the rarity of seeing guys in the NFL that throw that ball the way that, just what he does. I mean, a lot of people got to see him in Washington and got to see that full effect, but you don't see left-handed quarterbacks a lot. And the zip that he has on this ball and how quick he can get it out of his hands is just huge. He's another guy that can take a hit and kind of lower his shoulder and keep moving with it. But Michael Penix, I mean, being a left-handed quarterback, obviously people are going to pay attention to that because you don't see it as often in college football. You definitely don't see it as often in the NFL. But his touch to get the ball out as fast as he does, that's something that sticks out to me. Like I said, I like him. I like what he can do. I'm excited for him. I had him going in the first round. I had him going later, around like the 16 region, maybe a little bit later than that, to the Seahawks or to the Cowboys. So I was very surprised that Atlanta took him after bringing in Kirk Cousins. But, I mean, Michael Penix, folks, there's some things that he's done on the field. And if you didn't watch Washington, if you're on the East Coast and you missed out on some of those games, you definitely got to see him in the college football playoff. And, you got to see a team that had an undefeated season all the way leading up to the college football playoff. So, he's a guy that can take off a little bit here too with his feet. But, I mean, Penix is a talented guy. Papa Joe was talking to me about him months ago and what he liked about him. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do and really how it's going to shape out for him, because ultimately I don't know what Atlanta's plan is. And I think a lot of us are kind of scratching our heads as to what Atlanta's plan is going to be. The other guy that I was high on, and PJ's been high on, I give PJ all the credit here because he's been talking about Bo Nix for probably longer than Bo Nix's parents have talked about Bo Nix. But Bo Nix here, I had him going at 12. By the way everything looked in my mock draft, it just made sense. It made sense that he was going to be a quarterback chosen here in the top 12. And so coming out of Oregon, and the other thing that's really cool is that later on in the draft, I believe in the 4th round, the Denver Broncos went and got Troy Franklin, his wide receiver. So now he's coming into the NFL with a safety blanket. Think about Travis Etienne Jr. and Trevor Lawrence both going to the Jaguars. And you got 2 Clemson guys. So you go into the NFL with one of your teammates, with somebody that you worked heavily with, and having that can create maybe a better transition for you because you're not going through it alone. You're going through it with somebody who's already been in the trenches with you. Now, Bo Nix is a guy that I think is going to end up being a potential steal of the draft. Getting him at number 12, the Denver Broncos bring in Bo Nix. Now, they haven't had a quarterback since Peyton Manning and Tim Tebow. It's been years since Denver has had a notable quarterback on their team. So Bo Nix, I think, is going to be that guy where we look at him and say, of all these quarterbacks chosen in the top 12, of the 6 of them, he was the last one picked. Will he end up being the last one? I don't think so. Will he end up being the last one as far as statistics and what he does for a team? I don't believe that. I am really high on Jaden Daniels right now, and I'm really high on Bo Nix. I'm higher on them than I probably am on Caleb Williams, and I'm higher on Caleb Williams than I am of Drake May. And that's changed over time. But I really think when I look at this first 6 picks, it's Bo Nix. As far as immediate, it's Jaden Daniels and then probably Bo Nix. And then I got some love out there for J.J. McCarthy and what he can do as well. And then, Caleb Williams, we'll see. I'm a little back and forth on that. And Drake May's got to work on getting that ball out there faster and down the field quicker to his receivers, because in the NFL, you don't have time to hang around and wait for it. So that's my analysis of the quarterbacks chosen within the first round. PJ, there were some steals though. Jameis Winston, your favorite player, and I know that because you have cards of him that sit off to your right, and that you so yeah, but.
This year. I don't know.
Well, famous Jameis is on another team now. The New Orleans Saints made the decision to go and draft Spencer Rattler and bring him in later on here in the draft. Spencer Rattler coming to the team. So with that being done and him coming in, there's a nice quarterback plan for the future in bringing in a guy like Spencer Rattler. And then we look at other guys like Michael Pratt that I had mentioned that were chosen in the 7th round by the Green Bay Packers. And speaking of the Green Bay Packers, their former quarterback Aaron Rodgers on the New York Jets, they brought in Tyrod Taylor to be his backup, and Taylor's been with the Jets before, bringing him back to the team as an insurance policy for Aaron Rodgers, who hopefully both of them will stay healthy. They go in the 5th round, they trade up 171 overall, and they decide to draft one of my guys from college that I've interviewed and enjoy talking with, and that is Jordan Travis out of FSU, the Florida State Seminoles, and a guy who, if stayed healthy, we were going to see that team in the college football playoff, and we still should have seen that team in the college football playoff, even if they would have lost. We still should have seen them out there. So Spencer Rattler going to the New Orleans Saints, and then seeing Jordan Travis go. We also saw a Joe Milton III. He went in this draft as well as kind of a distant or a future insurance policy. So there were some other names that were picked out here, PJ, and some other guys that got to go. What are your thoughts on the Jordan Travises of the world? By the way, I texted Mike Norvell, Florida State Seminoles head coach, after the pick happened, and we had a nice little exchange on the 3rd day of the NFL draft this year. Always good to talk to Mike Norvell, and can't believe that I've known him for 8 years, but 4 years at Memphis, 4 years at Florida State. So had a nice little back and forth with him, as I'm a big fan of Jordan Travis. I think Jordan will get an opportunity in a couple years when Aaron Rodgers is done. I think Jordan will get a chance to prove if he can take over at quarterback for the New York Jets in the future here. So Spencer Rattler to the Saints behind Derek Carr. We look at Jordan Travis to the New York Jets behind Aaron Rodgers. Michael Pratt to the Green Bay Packers behind Jordan Love. What are your thoughts on these picks, PJ, and just what your takeaway is on what happened on these, in the draft for these gentlemen, and if you think that any one of these guys has a better situation than the other?
The Spencer Rattler guy has been around for a while, and he's been around. He's a mature guy. He knows how to play the game. Great fundamentals. I guess maybe he needs to improve his reads a little bit better. And of course, with the pros, things are quicker. You got to do it within 4 seconds or 3.5 seconds. He's got a lot of talent. I think he's got a big arm too. But there are 2 wild cards in this draft here, the lower end, and you mentioned them. One of them is, of course, Jordan Travis. This guy, what a shame what happened to him last year. I mean, FSU had a chance to win the national championship. That's how good they were. And for him breaking his leg like that, I mean, it's hard to even talk about. But he's good. He's tough. He's great intangibles. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's got a big arm. I like him, and I like him in this situation. If you were Jordan Travis and you were drafted by the Jets, the first thing you're thinking about is, I get to sit in a quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers and learn. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'd love to do it. Yes. Pratt, we've already talked about. I think he's a project. I'm sure he's be a good backup for Love, maybe even better than Love. I'm not sure. My ace in the hole here is big man Joe Milton in Tennessee. I've seen Joe Milton for 4 years. I don't want to see Joe Milton anymore. He is big, tough. He's a beast. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. And let me tell you, folks, he's all man. He's all quarterback. He's got a rifle for an arm. I guess he needs to learn the quarterback position more. You know, I mean, he's a gigantic person. I mean, and then I guess he just lacks the processing of to learn how to throw the ball, where to throw the ball, how to throw a ball. You know, he's got to learn some touch because he can throw a 40-mile-an-hour fastball right at someone, 40 yards down the field. That is my ace in the hole right there. Joe Milton going to New England. I'm probably going to watch Drake May take the job. But Joe Milton. Now, one of the questions by one of the reporters up there in New England, they said, "There's plans to make you a tight end." And he looked at the guy and says, "It ain't going to happen." It ain't going to happen. Nope. Yeah. Joe Milton wants to play quarterback. Wants to play quarterback for New England. When you see the size of this guy and what he can do, when it's 3rd and 1, what are you going to do? You're going to have a quarterback sneak with a guy like him. So those four quarterbacks that we just talked about there's nothing wrong with any of them. Jordan Travis, unfortunately, I hope he rehabilitates himself to where he can actually play it pretty close to 100%. You're going to see him scoot around too. So Michael Pratt, I looked him up and I thought he did a great job from where he was. Green Bay, good selection. So there's 10 pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah, you know, and for Joe Milton, the third, interesting here that the third overall pick in the draft, the New England Patriots in the first round select Drake May, and then they come back in the 6th round and draft Joe Milton, the third, as another guy to bring in. So interesting that they did that in the same draft. Spencer Rattler going in the 5th round here. And Joe Milton, you know, you look at this, Gerard Mayo, he's the new head coach of the New England Patriots, and maybe his plan is to have Drake May and to have Joe Milton come in and be a backup guy who can come in a wildcat situation, who can come in a goal line situation. We know that the guy has some speed on the edge to come around and score. So there's that piece of it too. Don't underestimate the fact that this is not Bill Belichick. This is Gerard Mayo's team, and Mayo might look at utilizing both of these guys and might, you know, put some packages together where Joe Milton can get involved and shock teams a little bit, and maybe not use it all the time so they don't know when it's coming, but use it some of the time this season so we can see a different look by the New England Patriots and what they do. So we could end up seeing something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we did. And, you know, I'm excited. I'm excited for these teams. I'm excited for these guys. And, you know, I think Milton might get out there in a unique way this season in some of those interesting formations. And, you know, Spencer Rattler, it's great. He's going to have the opportunity to learn under Derek Carr. The Saints had a quarterback carousel that featured Taysom Hill, who's a jack of all trades, featured Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. So now with Derek Carr, Spencer Rattler's going to have time to learn. Jordan Travis is going to have time to learn under Aaron Rodgers, and Michael Pratt's going to have time to learn under Jordan Love. So I think there's definitely some good moves made by teams that already have their quarterback. And I think for the teams that need a quarterback to play right away, I'm probably most excited about Jaden Daniels with Washington, J.J. McCarthy with Minnesota, and Bo Nix with Denver at this point. With that being said, PJ and I giving you an analysis of the quarterbacks of the NFL that have come in this draft class. We're going to take a step aside, and we're going to come back on the prowl as we take a look at the Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars came out of the first round looking like geniuses. So we'll take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars draft class here for 2024 as they had a pick in every single round of this NFL draft. and we will take a look at what it means as the Jacksonville Jaguars, or as some people might like to call them, the Baton Rouge of the Panhandle, now that they have 3 players in this draft coming from LSU. We'll talk about all of that here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora when we come back. The Jacksonville Jaguars analysis on the prowl with Papa Joe and myself, Dan Tortora, from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, right after these messages from our incredible partners. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, It goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, on Thursdays, we are here with Papa Joe. And we are here, and I can say this for the first time ever, and I love saying it, so I keep on doing that. And that is that we are coming to you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Heritage Hill, you could find them in Pompey at the Heritage Hill Brew House. You can also find Heritage Hill North, which just officially had its grand opening yesterday to start off May here in 2024. They're on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York. And when you're traveling through the airport at Syracuse Hancock International Airport, you can visit them at Palladino Farms. 3 locations for the Heritage Hill brand, made in this community and continuing to grow and blossom right here with us. Their food, their incredible brewery, all of their creations are here in Pompey, North Syracuse, and at the airport. And so, as they like to say, they meet you where you're at and they meet you where you're going. And Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proud to be where you're at this morning for watching and listening all around the world from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. PJ and I are going to be talking about the Jaguars, and the only way that you can truly talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars is to go on the prowl, ladies and gentlemen. And you know that going on the prowl, there's a different feel to it on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I've spent many years covering the Jaguars. I've been a fan since they came into existence in 1995. And when I bring you Jacksonville, it is with my absolute whole heart that we talk about the Jaguars, praying and hoping that this year is year 14 of me being out there with Jacksonville. So with that being said, here is the introduction to On the Prowl. coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars called On the Prowl. That's what it's been called for many years here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, PJ and I are here to talk to you about the draft class of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, mind you, folks, are not like the team that you saw in one of my favorite movies of all time, which is called Draft Day, featuring Kevin Costner. In that, the Jacksonville Jaguars were painted as a team that had a young general manager who was easily manipulated. Well, the general manager that's actually on the Jaguars, Trent Baalke, he was not easily manipulated. He made some pretty good decisions, including the fact that on the number 17 pick that the Jacksonville Jaguars had, the pick was in, and then it turned purple to the Minnesota Vikings, who Jacksonville traded with in order for the Vikings to go up from 23 to 17, and the Jaguars dropping 6 spots. I had predicted that the Jacksonville Jaguars would draft Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU, at number 17. At number 23, they got their guy, drafting Brian Thomas Jr. after making a trade with the Minnesota Vikings that resulted in the Jacksonville Jaguars gaining a 5th-round selection in the 2024 NFL Draft, a 3rd-round selection in the 2025 Draft, and a 4th-round selection in the 2025 Draft, gaining 3 picks, including huge draft capital for next year, and still getting their guy. Brian Thomas Jr. goes in the 1st round to the Jaguars at number 23 overall, and eventually Zay Jones is released by the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday, following Brian Thomas coming onto the team. Devin Duvernay coming onto the team is probably the kick and punt returner from the Baltimore Ravens, and having Christian Kirk, God willing, come back healthy and well and continue to work with Christian Kirk and what he can do, and Gabe Davis coming in from the Buffalo Bills, who I covered at UCF, and the tight end Evan Engram being one of the best tight ends in the nation, which is what I believe when he first came into the NFL, and I'm happy to see him doing what he's doing right now. Very strong faith in God, and just a wonderful guy to talk to. So, with the receiving room the way that it is, Zay Jones, they bid adieu, another very strong man of faith, and I appreciate him, and I'm going to be sad not to see him. I covered him at East Carolina, and I covered him at Jacksonville, and I covered him in between when he was with the Oakland Raiders and the Buffalo Bills. So God bless to him on his journey. The Jaguars take Thomas in the 1st round. In the 2nd round, at number 48 overall, they take Mason Smith, defensive tackle out of LSU as well. So in their first 2 picks, they reconnect teammates from the LSU Tigers. In round 3, the Jaguars were awarded the highest compensatory pick by the NFL this season. Of, I believe, 32 or 33 compensatory picks that were awarded by the NFL, the Jaguars got the highest one, number 96 in round 3. Jerrion Jones is who they pick up, cornerback, Florida State, PJ's favorite team. In round 4, number 114 and number 116 overall, the Jaguars are 1 pick away of trading back-to-back in the 4th round, and they make the decision in the 4th round to finally get their offensive lineman, drafting offensive tackle out of Missouri, Javon Foster. In round 4, 2 picks later, they draft Jordan Jefferson, defensive tackle out of, you guessed it, LSU. In the 5th round, they had 2 picks thanks to that trade with the Minnesota Vikings. They had number 153, where they drafted DeAndre Prince, cornerback, Mississippi, from the Lane Train. Number 167 overall in the 5th round, they bring in their 4th running back after keeping Travis Etienne and optioning him for his 5th year, no surprise there, as well as keeping Tank Bigsby, who they drafted last year out of Auburn, and bringing back yet another player that they had on their roster, as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars decided to return everyone from their depth chart, with Dearness Johnson returning to the team. They drafted in the 5th round, 167 overall, Kellen Robinson, running back out of Texas. In the 6th round, the Jaguars had pick 212. They went with a kicker because they don't have one, Cam Little out of Arkansas. And in round number 7, the Jaguars went with the 236 overall pick, being edge rusher Miles Cole out of Texas Tech. Jacksonville needed to assess their offensive and defensive line, I said going into the draft. I said they could get another wide receiver. They don't need a tight end, which they didn't draft. They don't need a quarterback, which they didn't draft. They don't need a running back. They drafted one. They don't need a linebacker, which they didn't draft. And they could get some help in the secondary, which they drafted. So the Jaguars pretty much did what I said they were going to do. My surprise is that they didn't go with another offensive lineman, but they did bring in 3 defensive linemen and 1 offensive lineman in the draft, including 2 teammates. So not only did they try to help the interior of the D-line, they did it with bringing D tackles, both from LSU, both played together, Jordan Jefferson and Mason Smith, and overall 3 LSU players in this draft. So, PJ, what are your thoughts on the draft class of the Jacksonville Jaguars? And do you think that Doug Peterson will be playing more jazz music in the locker room now that they have 3 guys from Baton Rouge?
That's true. Gotta have some Cajun cooking. I thought it was a good draft. I didn't think it was a great draft, but it's a good draft. And the more I looked at the undrafted free agent list, I like some of those guys too. But they're another day. But to go over these guys, I think it was strong. Not great, but strong, and certainly needed. Brian Thomas was our pick. We both said that for weeks, that we liked him. I liked him more than Neighbors. And I don't understand why he didn't go ahead of Neighbors. But Brian Thomas is 6'3", runs a 4.41 dash. Are you kidding me? He's just a good inside and out runner. The only problem I have with Brian is that I hope that he can hit the home run for us. I've been bitching for years about hitting the home run. Ridley, no. Gavisca Chenault, no, couldn't get him going. Someone has to hit a home run. With a big arm guy like Trevor, you've got to get the ball down the field 50 yards to some of these guys. This guy can do it. Not only that, but he can be physical enough to go up and get the damn ball. Let's face it. Trevor likes to go to the fade route into the end zone from, say, 10 yards out. When you got a guy 6'3", he's going to go up and get it. I think this is a great, great selection, and I think it's well-deserved. And I think matter of fact, I think he'll even start. That's how good I think he is. Mason Smith, LSU, defensive tackle, 6'5", 300 pounds. Well, he got a lack of experience. He didn't play that much, but he sure is big, and he's quick. Quick with long arms. And from what I can read about the guy, he enjoys, or his coaches think he's better in the 3-4 defense. And I think that's what we're going to run this year, is a 3-4 defense. Jerry Jones, FSU, cornerback, 6'1", 190. This guy's a go-getter. Really competitive. Good break on the ball. He needs to get separation a little bit better. I think he's probably going to get caught with a few interference calls, but he won't start certainly, but he'll play. Javon Foster from Missouri, offensive tackle, 6'5", 320. This guy is huge. He's durable, powerful person. Extends plays well on the sweep. Needs to flex more in his passing. But imagine the 6'5", 320-pound guy lead the sweep. That's frightening right there. With the guys we got, this guy will certainly augment and they're just fine.
Yeah.
Jordan Jefferson, LSU defensive tackle, 6'3", 320. Boy, is he going to be a run stuffer. I don't think he'll be wide, but he'll be inside. He's probably going to be out-muscled a little bit, although he's big. He's probably going to get pushed around and run plays inside a little bit. But I think he can stop up the middle pretty good, and I think that'll give the linebackers a chance to make a good tackle. DeAndre Prince, Mississippi, 6'1", 185 cornerback, started 3 years. Needs to be more physical on the run and needs maturity. I don't know why he was a fifth-round draft. I think he is much better than that. Let's hope he is. Keelan Robinson, Texas running back, 5'8", 190. He ran a good 4.40, but I don't think he's big enough to play in this game. Maybe special teams, could be a pass catcher, but I just think he's a little too small. I don't know if he'll even make the team. So he's got a tough road. Thielen Robinson, tough road to hoe. Cam Little, man, this guy's a stud. This guy can kick the hell out of the ball. First team All-SEC, big leg. 83% good on field goals and 64% good on 50 yards or more. That's the kind of leg you got to see in this league. Then we go to Miles Cole, the last one. Texas Tech defensive end, 6'6", 280. Won't play inside. Maybe needs to be on the outside. Big, tall, long arm guy.
Yeah.
You just got to get a little stronger. But if he stays outside, maybe it helps Josh a little bit. That would be okay. It's a good. I think Daniel. I thought it was a good selection. I don't think there's any losers in this draft. No. I think that they're all well played. The only one that I really I'm hesitant about is just Thielen Robinson being a little bit too small to play the running back.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he's going to be utilized as an Austin Eckler type of guy or something like that, a little scrappy guy. So we'll see how they utilize him in the offense, and hopefully he'll make the team and get an opportunity. PJ, some other things that have happened. Final notes here with the Jacksonville Jaguars from today. I mentioned it in the intro here of On the Prowl, our coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Zay Jones released. There was a time this season where Zay Jones was off the field due to apparent injury. There were times where he was off the field and some things were going on outside of football. The charges were dropped, and Zay, we didn't get to really see him consistently this year, which was hard because I know him and I spend time with him as a man-to-man Zay Jones, a man of faith to a man of faith. What do you think about the fact that he's no longer going to be in the Jaguars locker room?
They don't need that kind of publicity. It's unfortunate he made some bad decisions, but we're not babysitting these guys. These are grown men, and they need to be accountable to themselves. And Pedersen's not going to be babysitting these guys. It's unfortunate that he may not get a chance to play, but maybe he'll be picked up with someone else.
Yeah, so Zay Jones no longer on the team. I wish him the best and hope that we have the opportunity to reconnect and he continues to keep his faith strong and God first. And I will never forget the way that he treated me, especially when he did a Good Samaritan thing with me that he didn't even know about when he did it. So I truly appreciate that, Zay, and I thank you for all of our conversations and the kindness and the generosity of your time and your faith in God. The other piece, PJ, a quick note here, Travis Etienne Jr., running back for the Jaguars, and Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jaguars. No surprise, their fifth-year options were both picked up just a couple days ago by the Jaguars. We know that they have to negotiate the contracts and the extensions out of the rookie contracts for Travis Etienne Jr. and Trevor Lawrence. I hope they've been working on these for a while. I had made the statement that the Trevor Lawrence contract should be worked on 3 years in advance. We know that Foye Oluokun at linebacker is back for at least another 3 years. We know that Josh Allen, linebacker and a guy that can kind of play in different places for the Jaguars, we know he's back on an extended deal as well. So Foye coming in as a veteran and Josh Allen being drafted by the Jaguars and them extending him out of his rookie contract. The next things to do, the next line of work for the Jaguars is Trevor Lawrence's contract and Travis Etienne Jr.'s contract. I know there's no surprise that they're fifth-year option pickups, but what's your take on the Jaguars now that they've picked up both guys out of Clemson for their fifth year, knowing that they've bought themselves some time to go to the negotiation table? But now I'd love to get your thoughts on if they should bring back both of these gentlemen and just what your thoughts are for the future.
Oh, hell yeah, bring them back. My goodness. These are the cornerstones of our offensive team. Both guys are irreplaceable. I mean, sure, we got some running backs that can run and maybe a quarterback that can throw, but not like these guys running and throwing. Now, they need to be taken care of, and they need to have a long-term contract. I'm not sure Etienne can get one because running backs typically don't get long-term contracts because they're not long in the league. I mean, if a running back lacks 6 or 7 years, that's a miracle. I mean, Travis Etienne, he gets a heck kicked out of him. And I assume that if they get maybe a 3-year contract, that'll probably be, 28, 29 years old. I think that'll probably be fine. Now, Trevor Lawrence is another one. They need to get him signed up for 10 years at a big price, and don't worry about your quarterback for the next 10 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how these negotiations go on. I'm sure they'll be talked about throughout the season. They'll be talked about in the press conference room, and hopefully they'll have an extension for both of them, and they can announce those quicker here. And definitely in the quarterback market, want to see that come through hopefully by mid-season. And in the world of Travis Etienne and running backs in general, I hope they get treated better, paid more fairly to what other NFL positions are making, and respected for the work that they do. As always, PJ, I appreciate the time. We have talked about Major League Baseball, spoke about the conundrum of the Los Angeles Angels, as well as much more. Got into the NFL draft, giving you an analysis of the quarterbacks chosen and the history made in the first round, as well as what happened in the later rounds and some steals that were out there, like a Spencer Rattler, as well as a Jordan Travis, a Joe Milton III, and a Michael Pratt. And we went on the prowl in the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 Draft Class analysis, which will continue here on Wake Up Call. PJ, I appreciate it, and I'm happy that I can say for the first time ever, thank you for joining me on Wake Up Call inside of the Heritage Hill Studios.
Good. Congratulations on that. That's great.
Thank you. I'll talk with you soon.
Bye.
All right, take care. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take our final step aside of this morning from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll be back right after this. Central New Yorkers, you can now enjoy the tastes of Heritage Hill award-winning craft beers, seltzers, and a full bar at 3 locations. Spend your weekends at their beautiful location in Pompey with its amazing views, sunsets, family, and pet-friendly facilities, as well as extensive private event areas. Get their taps, tonics, and tastes in their brand new North Syracuse location at Sweetheart Corner in North Syracuse, New York. When flying in and out of Syracuse Hancock International Airport, make sure to visit their Palladino Farms location. At Heritage Hill, they believe in supporting our community and are excited to now meet you where you're at and where you're going with their local farm-raised tastes. Find out more information at heritagehillbrewery.com.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. They are the sports card shop, in my opinion. I'm going there today, okay? Because I want to be there all the time. I love what they have. Their singles, their packs, their gradeds, their boxes. They have so many awesome things. We do box breaks with them. Every single month we're doing something with GG Cards and Breaks, and I just absolutely love being over there. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6, Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Hockey, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, AEW, All Sport, UFC, and Disney Lorcana and Pokemon. You can go and get all of that while supplies last, including everything you need to protect your cards. You can get your binders with your sheets, as well as protectors for top loaders. You can get top loaders. Well, they do have a protector for top loader. They actually have a binder now. That's what I meant. They have a binder now that you can put your stuff into. You can put your graded cards into this binder. There's the all different size top loaders, the one-touch cases, the boxes that you can get as well. I utilize my stuff from GG Cards and Breaks. When I go out to a card show, the box that I put them in, that's from GG Cards and Breaks. The top loaders and the sleeves, those are from GG Cards and Breaks. So it's not just the cards, it's the everything that I have to protect my cards, to travel with my cards, that all comes from GG Cards and Breaks. They are a community building environment, and they absolutely know what they're doing, and I love the fact that they do it differently. The touch that they put on at GG Cards and Breaks with the hobby is just truly special. It's unique, and it's why I absolutely love promoting them. GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Head there today. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios. That's right, folks. You can see this banner behind me for every single broadcast. And so you got the Heritage Hill logos there, and you have the Pompey logo here. So Pompey is where it got started, Palladino Farms and Heritage Hill Brewhouse in Pompey, New York, and Heritage Hill North, which just opened yesterday. And I've never been able to do this, so we made history in doing this, which means the world to me. Heritage Hill North and I got to start our partnership on the day of their grand opening. We got to make history together yesterday, and it means the world to me. And thank you to Dan Palladino for involving me in the ribbon cutting event. Heritage Hill North in North Syracuse on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse. And of course, they are the proud exclusive studio partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So you're going to see this banner behind me Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and you will hear Wake Up Call from inside of the Heritage Hill Studios for years to come. Big time shout out to Heritage Hill for joining the Wake Up Call family. And speaking of the Wake Up Call family, thank you to all of our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York, including Heritage Hill Brewhouse and Heritage Hill North, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, GG Cards and Breaks, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, and Mother's Cupboard. We thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call all throughout the week, Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. And of course, you can also find us by searching on your favorite podcasting platforms. You can find Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora by going to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is fins up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins by going to our show on Wednesdays during Dolphin time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Weekly Dolphin coverage on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. First and third Wednesday of each month, AD and DT, featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta, and myself, Dan Tortora. And second and fourth Wednesday of each month, the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You can find all of our coverage with the Lemoyne College Dolphins by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course, you'll find the Lemoyne playlist on our YouTube channel. You can find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, head to LeMoyneDolphins.com, and you know what it is. Fins way up. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. You can find your Bobcats inside of what we call the Bobcat Buzz, coming to you every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, featuring student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, future Bobcats here. So we love talking with the Bobcats here, student athletes, coaches, and administration. We also have the opportunity to get on the recruiting trail with the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. We got something very special coming up for you very, very soon here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So do not miss out on that. The Bobcats can be found on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. Their campuses are on James Street in Syracuse and right off of 57 in Liverpool, New York. Big time shout out to Mary Hawkins, who is the director for both of those Syracuse campuses and has been on the show recently here, and a special you can go and find on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Once again, click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and find the Bobcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find the Bearcats during Bearcat Time every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Bearcat Time exclusive to Wake Up Call. And, of course, our specials that air each month on Tuesdays are Moments with Marshall, featuring Gene Marshall, the Binghamton University Athletics Director, and the Bearcat Break Room with student athletes, coaches, and administration connected to the Binghamton University Bearcats' incredible and bigger picture story. You will find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll find our Binghamton University playlist on our YouTube channel. And, of course, you'll also find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information on your Bearcats, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call, I want to thank my Thursday feature guest that we have weekly, Mr. Papa Joe, one of the greatest people that I have in my life and one of the biggest pieces of love that I have in my life, one of the greatest avenues of love and support and kindness and truth and generosity and comedy and knowledge and wisdom. I love you, PJ, and I love you, MT, and I love you, Joey. So shout out to y'all. And Boom Boom the cat, and of course Marissa the cat as well. Inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com is what's popping, giving you a list of topics. Head to Ma and Pa's today. They are the snack capital of CNY, 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. I love hearing you all talk about Ma and Pa's and all the great things that you say and the excitement you have for it. We love being partnered up with Ma and Pa's and appreciate the Bell family so very much and appreciate all of you for going in to Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for those of you out of town, going to Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com. Thanks to PJ for talking about Major League Baseball, the NFL Draft, as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars Draft Class. And with that being said, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Have yourselves a tremendous and wonderful day. I hope you started off your day well with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I pray and hope that all goes well for you in your life as you step forward into the continuation of your journey today. And from the Heritage Hill Studios, this is Wake Up Call. God bless. No stress.